Yeah, we did a couple other projects. I was working with Shaka Khan. I did an album with her.
Prince Rogers Nelson. One name, infinite talent. He wasn't just a musician, he was an entire universe wrapped in purple silk. A guitarist who could outplay rock legends, a vocalist who could outsing R&B icons, and a composer who blurred every boundary in music. But Prince was also a mystery, a perfectionist, a rebel, and, at times, a man with very little patience for what he considered mediocrity. He lived by one rule: if you can't outwork me, you don't deserve to stand beside me. Behind the scenes of his glittering career, Prince was brutally honest about who he respected and who he couldn't stand.
Because they need to hear that.
While he often kept his criticisms private, those who knew him best and those who crossed him knew exactly where they stood. So today, we dive into the story of the 6 bands Prince truly hated the most, and the stories behind that legendary purple disdain. 1. The Rolling Stones, The Night It All Went Wrong. It began in 1981. Prince was a rising star, blending funk, rock, and sexuality into something the world had never seen. When he opened for the Rolling Stones in Los Angeles, he expected applause. Instead, he got boos, thousands of them. Dressed in thigh-high boots, a trench coat, and bikini briefs, Prince played his set as the Stones fans pelted him with trash. They weren't ready for him. They didn't get him. Prince stormed off stage in humiliation. Mick Jagger later tried to smooth things over, inviting him to return for a second night. But the damage was done. Prince never forgave that crowd, and by extension, the Rolling Stones themselves. I only wanted one time, see you laughing, babe. He later told friends he hated being treated like a circus act by a band that had been around too long. Though he respected Jagger's charisma, he saw the Stones as rock fossils, living proof that mainstream success could make a band lazy. For Prince, that night was a scar and a reminder never to open for anyone again. 2. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. No funk in that funk. On paper, the Red Hot Chili Peppers might have seemed like Prince's spiritual descendants, mixing funk, sex, and attitude. But in reality, Prince couldn't stand them. In the early 90s, a journalist asked Prince what he thought about the new wave of funk rock bands. His response was blunt: "That's not funk. That's just noise in leather pants." Insiders knew exactly who he was talking about: the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He reportedly found their lyrics juvenile and their performances chaotic without purpose. During an after-party in Minneapolis, he once refused to meet Anthony Kiedis, saying, "Tell them to learn how to tune their instruments first." Kiedis, to his credit, later admitted he was heartbroken to learn that Prince didn't like them. But Prince never softened. He saw funk as sacred, a spiritual groove that couldn't be corrupted by distortion and frat house humor. To him, the Peppers weren't carrying the funk torch. They were burning it. 3. Oasis. The sound of arrogance. When Oasis burst onto the scene in the mid-1990s, they brought swagger, fame, and ego in equal measure. But while the world debated who was bigger, Oasis or the Beatles, Prince wasn't impressed. He once described the Gallagher brothers as a parody of confidence. According to friends, Prince detested Oasis, not just for their attitude, but for what they represented: a generation of artists who confused self-promotion with talent. When asked about Britpop in a 1998 interview, Prince said, "They talk about rebellion, but they're just following trends in louder jackets. Behind closed doors, Prince reportedly mimicked Liam Gallagher's swaggering walk during a sound check, making his crew laugh. But underneath the humor was real irritation. He felt Oasis made rock shallow again, an industry of personalities, not musicianship. In Prince's world, ego without genius was a sin, and Oasis embodied that perfectly. 4. Guns N' Roses, toxic energy. Prince believed in energy, creative, emotional, spiritual. And to him, Guns N' Roses carried the worst kind of energy imaginable. In the late 80s, both acts were at their peak. Prince was redefining pop. Guns N' Roses was redefining excess. Their paths crossed briefly at a Los Angeles event, where Axl Rose reportedly made a joke about Prince's height. Prince didn't laugh. From that day on, he considered Axl vulgar and small-minded. He detested the band's reputation for chaos, drugs, and misogyny. In a later interview, when someone compared his stage energy to Guns N' Roses, Prince replied coolly, "Energy doesn't mean screaming. It means controlling the room." Insiders claimed he refused to allow Guns N' Roses music to be played at his Paisley Park studio. To him, their version of rebellion wasn't revolutionary. It was lazy shock value. While Axl and Slash were tearing up hotel rooms, Prince was writing symphonies and recording 20 songs in a night. Their worlds could never align. 5. The Sex Pistols. No art in anarchy. Prince respected rebellion, but only if it came with purpose. So when punk exploded in the late 70s, he watched with skepticism. He saw the Sex Pistols as loud, crude, and empty. In one 1980 interview, when asked if he admired their rawness, Prince laughed and said, "Rawness is only beautiful when you know how to cook." To him, the Sex Pistols were proof that chaos without craft was meaningless. He disliked how critics called them visionaries, while dismissing funk as shallow or too danceable. He once told his bandmates that punk was a mask for people who can't groove. But there was also a deeper reason for the hate. The Pistols represented everything Prince was fighting against: industry hype over true musicianship. While they spat on stage, Prince was mastering 27 instruments. For a man who demanded precision in every note, the Sex Pistols were his nightmare. Rebels without rhythm. 6. Coldplay. Music without sweat. By the 2000s, Prince had become an elder statesman of music, still recording, still performing, still impossible to label. But when he was asked in an interview about modern rock bands, he gave a cryptic smile and said, "Some people make music. Others make wallpaper." Fans quickly noticed who he meant: Coldplay. Prince reportedly found their music emotionally flat, their performances safe, and their lyrics vague to the point of meaning nothing. For someone who poured his entire soul into every note, he couldn't understand Coldplay's appeal. When Chris Martin once called Prince a genius, Prince supposedly replied, "Then learn from it." It wasn't personal. It was artistic frustration. Prince hated laziness disguised as subtlety. He believed that every song should bleed passion. And to him, Coldplay was like a photograph of emotion, not the real thing. Still, he never insulted them publicly. Instead, he simply ignored them. Perhaps the most Prince thing he could do. Prince wasn't like anyone else, and he didn't want to be. He saw the world through rhythm and emotion, where truth came through sound, not words. So when he hated a band, it wasn't out of jealousy. It was out of disappointment. He wanted every artist to reach for something divine, to feel music in their bones the way he did. And when they didn't, when they played for fame or style or money, he couldn't forgive that. In his Purple Kingdom, there was no room for mediocrity. Even those he hated were really just reflections of what he refused to become: predictable, lazy or soulless. Prince was fire. The rest were sparks trying to catch up. And though he's gone, his standards remain unmatched. Every musician who picks up a guitar, a mic, or a pen still hears his echo, the challenge he left behind. If you're going to make music, make it mean something.